Now, can I just get this disclaimer quickly out the way that no, I am not talking about every single Tarantino fan who has ever lived. I'm just talking about a few internet-based vocal minority communities. I've criticized aspects of Tarantino's filmmaking on online message boards and film websites, but I've just got bombarded with hate. Unfortunately, there are too many fanboys for certain directors, most notably Tarantino and Christopher Nolan, to engage in genuine discussion which does not delve into personal attacks and death threats. And I say fanboys instead of fans because I do not consider these kind of people true fans of these directors. A fan is able to use his own brain to see whether he likes something or not, whether something works or not, but a fanboy just readily accepts everything on a plate. These kind of people do not help the filmmaker, they make him lazy. Take Steven Seagal for instance, one of the most promising martial arts actors of the 90s. But his fan base just took everything, no matter how rubbish it was, on a plate and said, "Please sir, can I have some more?" And now look at him doing direct-to-video crap. Compare that with Stallone's fans. Every time he makes a flop, his fan base makes sure he knows about it. Recently, he greedily downgraded the rating of The Expendables 3 from R to PG-13, for profit of course, going against everything the series is supposed to stand for in the first place. The fans did not accept it. As juvenile as it may sound, there were online petitions, boycotts, things like that, and the movie did pretty terribly critically and financially, and Stallone was made aware that he was not thought of highly by his fans. So what did he do? He apologized and announced a new Expendables movie, saying it would be ultra-violent, a new Rocky movie which ended up being Creed, and another Rambo film, all to appease his fans. In other words, the fans forced the filmmaker to make an effort. I cannot understand the fanboy mentality, and Tarantino and Nolan's are among the worst I've ever come to know. My pretentious guess is that they are not educated enough or not old enough to have a credible view on cinema. They have never seen a film by Fellini, Kurosawa or Billy Wilder. They are not aware of why Marlon Brando is considered one of the most influential actors of all time. They cannot comprehend Roger Corman's contribution to American cinema. Because of facts like these, when they see something in a Tarantino film that has been done many, many times before but unbeknownst to them, they are easily wowed by it and think it all comes from him. When in fact, though I have enjoyed a lot of his films, I consider him to be quite a successful con artist. He steals so much, even lifting entire soundtracks and scenes from older films, and the excuse by his fanboys instead of addressing it is to say, well, everyone does it. Well, that may be, but no one does it in the same way as Tarantino does it. No one else copies scene for scene stuff from lesser known films and foreign language movies and tries to pass it off as their own without giving credit. I also think there's a sense of belonging and
this mailbox is mine
with fanboys as well. What I mean is, say you've discovered cinema through Reservoir Dogs. It's one of the first proper films you've seen. It's your introduction, your gateway to the movie world. You loved everything about it, from the plot to the dialogue, and as a result, obviously, you treasure it. And say then a couple of years later, someone comes and tells you that Reservoir Dogs is actually a rip-off of City on Fire. Of course you're going to be upset, and chances are you might not want to hear it. You might be in denial. I think Tarantino watches an older movie scene or listens to an Ennio Morricone soundtrack and instead of saying, "that was nice, credit to the filmmakers," says, "wow, I need to use that in my next movie." A lot of his movies seem to be revolved around big key scenes with music and dialogue lifted from other films, split in between other smaller scenes. He does not know how to do homages properly. Copying something directly is not a homage. Are you trying to showcase your superior film knowledge whenever you put an obscure soundtrack or something like that in your films? And a lot of the times, it doesn't fit in the movie anyway, and instead takes you completely out of it. Sometimes I guess it's like he wants to be seen as hip and cool, like the Tupac song Shootout in Django Unchained. Ennio Morricone was right when he said Tarantino uses music without coherence. It doesn't help that his films also seem to take place in his own world, where there's samurai swords allowed on planes, sunglasses in the Wild West, the use of the term motherfucker before it even existed. Any other filmmaker and these things might be considered goofs, but Tarantino gets a pass because he's Tarantino? Also, I think he shows a huge lack of respect when he lifts something completely from an older movie. Not just for ripping them off. For example, the soundtrack for The Final Showdown in Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars. Leone and Morricone worked on it extensively. The soundtrack was even finished before the film was shot, so they knew how to set the scene to the music. When it happens, you feel the sense of heroism from Clint Eastwood's character. It's such powerful music. All the events of the film, from the killings to the torture of Clint Eastwood's character, to the unveiling that he was working for both families, everything has built up to this scene. He has returned. It is his second coming. and he's back with a vengeance. It's beautiful. Compare that to when Tarantino used the same score. It was just a random scene in Kill Bill with two characters staring at each other, if I remember correctly. And this infuriated me when I watched it and took me right out of the film. Does he not realize that just because he likes something from an older film, he does not have to put it in his? Why not just appreciate it for what it is? I can enjoy a Tarantino film like Pulp Fiction or Inglourious Basterds. In fact, I have very much enjoyed all of Tarantino's films except Death Proof. But I watch them knowing I'm seeing pure entertainment. It's not deep, it's not intellectual. Some of these films, like Kill Bill, essentially feel like adult Looney Tunes episodes made by a child with loads of money. If you're in the right mood, of course they can be enjoyed, but that doesn't mean I don't know they are just fluff and in some cases shameless rip-offs. Many of his films look like a collection of random, self-indulgent scenes that have no bearing or relevance to the scene before or after. It's something that started with Kill Bill. This kind of odd, pulpy, wacky feel that fit that film. It worked for the Kill Bill movies, but then it carried on over into Inglourious Basterds, then Django Unchained, and then The Hateful Eight. And you know there's good material there for a decent film, but he can often poison his own films through his own ego. And try getting into a reasonable debate with certain fans of Tarantino, who often claim his films are layered and culturally relevant and deep and symbolic, etc., etc., and you just get pulverized. Okay, everybody has different tastes and opinions, and if you like Tarantino's films, fine, so do I. But let's not pretend he's something that he's not, and don't get offended when the films he has been ripping off are made apparent to you.